Hello, I'm Dwight Norris of fishingatwork.com, and today we're going to talk about how to spool braided fishing line on a baitcaster. Stay tuned. So 2021 is here and we're all happy for it, but we have to remember that this is a great time to go through all of our stuff that's been sitting around. If you're up here in the north, you've been sitting around a bit longer because it's cold as heck up here. But if you're down south, you're still fishing. And you may have forgotten that things do, break down over time. Mainly because fishing line breaks down when exposed to light. Many people think that it will last forever, and then they'll notice over a period of time that they start to, snap off a little easy. Hit a little rock, snap, lose your lure. Hit a little log, snap, lose your lure. Hit a big fish, then you pull it in, snap, lose the big fish. You're like, oh, my luck is horrible. Then you remember, oh wait, how long has this line been on here? And particularly, we're gonna talk about how to improve that. One of the ways is to upgrade your braid. I made a little joke there. But this is a new type of braid. If you haven't gotten into the new stuff, you're in the old school spywire stuff. This is, they have versions of sizes. And it's basically a braided line that has a variety of strands in it. And you can increase the number of strands that go around. This is the same thing you do with fabrics. And they also put a nice little monofilament-like coating around it, which gives it the feel of monofilament or fluorocarbon, but inside is the strength of a very robust braided line. Now this one is called the X9 by Berkeley, and it means that there's 9 braids. That means there's 8 braided lines going around and one in the middle. So actually it's 7 around, one in the middle, which is 8, and then the outer layer is the monofilament like structure, which makes it feel smooth. And it also does some other things. It lets it not kink. Even that's what monofilament does. It has a lot of memory, and braided is known for not having memory, and that's good because you don't want it to get tangled up in itself, which is a problem I have with spinning reels and spinning type baits like a spinner or like a Panther Martin. And that spins, and then it spins your line, and it spins on your reel, and next thing you know, it's all hung up, and you got all kinds of birds' nests happening into your reel, and that's that cool. But this is a baitcaster, so let's talk about how to spool it on. And this is a little different than a spinning reel. Because of the way it's positioned, it's kind of hard to figure out which way it's going to go, but once you know. But this way, it's going to be rolling this way, so it's pulling in. Now, the main thing you want to figure out, I'm going to tell you, is how to put it on. So, take out the fishing line, and you see right here that it's going this way. Now, that's the way you want to have it go onto your baitcaster. So you're going to turn around this way, so that's on top here, and you can use a special little device and start it and have it go to here, and then that will reel it in this way. So it comes off, spins this way, peels off the top, goes here, and spins the opposite way and goes directly onto your line in the same fashion. You don't want to do backwards, and then you have the little bit of memory that braid does have going backwards, so it's going to fight you. Don't fight the current. Go with the grain. Like when you cut meat, you want to cut across the grain when you cut meat, but you know what I'm talking about. So it's very simple. You can do that. Now there are products online. You can go to the blog post that I have on fishingatwork.com that will talk about this. There's things that attach to your rod and make it super easy for you. You can do it old school like I used to do when I was a kid. And I stuck a pencil right in the middle. You'll see there's a hole in the middle, right? That's because this used to be on a spooling machine. And the ones you buy online are the same thing, but you can also use a simple pencil, a really long one, poke it through there, stick it between your knees or your foot, boop, and then just hold it there and this between your 2 feet, and it'll unroll, and you won't have to roll about spinning around the room and going backwards like we talked about. It can stay in that perfect position, but I'll leave the DIY to you. So I'm gonna get this set up, and then we're gonna talk about what kind of knot should you connect with to your baitcaster. Before we get to the knot, let's first talk about how you want to set this up DIY. I want to show you at least one way. So this is the pencil that I'm talking about. Goes right through the middle. Simple little pencil. And the way I do it, I just figured out like 2 seconds ago. I've done it many other ways. I usually do the foot method. Just lay it on my foot and reel it up, my feet. But the other way to do it, if you have a staircase with some of these, and you're close enough, either shorter than your pencil, you can stick it right in here. And boom, there it is, your own holder. It's sitting on itself. It has the pencil to side, so it can't move anywhere. And here's your line. The little bit of tension that you're using to pull it onto the baitcaster is going to keep it in position, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's super cool, and it's a very easy thing to do. You don't have to go, you know, the Amazon or wherever and get those little devices. You can do it yourself. Foot, stairwell. There's many easy ways to do it. But if you like those ways and you want to, you know, get all your stuff done all at once, so you have thousands of yards of stuff to do your saltwater and your freshwater and your baitcaster and your spinning reel and your spin cast reel and whatever else you're using, then, you know, go professional. Get something for the pros. But me, I'm going to do a DIY. So in my effort to reveal the knot that you should use, the knot of choice for when using a baitcaster reel with braided line, or really any fishing line, is the Arbor Knot. If you've heard of the Arbor Knot, you can go online and see it more clearly, or with my website, I'll have some fishing diagrams there. Sorry you can't see my face, but you need to see what's going on here. Now what I did was feed it through, I have a line guide here, then I have the spool on this this Abu Garcia Ambassador 6500C3. It's old. I've gotten so many striped bass on this, it's ridiculous. And it's got a little rust, I gotta do some work on it, but here we go. So this is the line going in. This is it wrapping around the pole. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna make a circle, really. You're gonna make a circle, and then you're gonna wrap it around, I'm gonna say 3 times. It's like a basic knot, like if you're just trying to teach your kid their first little makeshift knot. You just wrap it, you just make a circle and you wrap it around itself 3 times. And then you get this. See? It's just wrapped around this spool right here. You see my thumb? It's wrapped around the spool, it goes back around and then wraps it around itself. Simple enough. Now, on the end, you do that again with the end of it, with itself. So you pull a little extra line here, make a circle. Sorry if this isn't so visible for you. It's really hard holding this up because the rod is stuck between my stairwell. DIY, it's a little hard sometimes, see? I'm just going around itself. 1, 2, 3 times. And there we go. There's the second version. See? That's all I did on the reel. And now I did it a second time up here. So what I do is I tighten that one first. That makes a little like cinch knot kind of thing. And then I pull. And the 2 of them will meet. To make a knot. Here's a closer look at the knot. The Arbor Knot when it's done. You see here is a very tight, low to the line guide knot. It's not one of those big bulky ones like, you know, all the normal ones you're used to using for your fishing lures. It's gonna stay there, and it's a cinching type of knot, so it's the more you pull, the tighter it gets on the actual spool. So that's what you want. Now I have some extra, you know, stuff to cut off there. Don't want to get too close. I'd say give it about 1/4 inch or maybe even a little bit more to make sure that you don't lose any of that. And you also should maybe think about getting it a little moist so it gets even tighter, just like you do with your other cinching knots when you use a fishing lure. So I snipped it off, and that's about how much I like to leave there. I'm a little cautious when it comes to this because if I get really low on my line, I don't realize it. I have a big striper on, super big bass. I get to near the end of my line, and I don't want it to fail. I don't want to lose that fish. So I want to make sure there's just enough to provide enough tension and maybe just a little bit of give in case a big boy gets in there and I need a little bit of time to get myself, correctly fighting the fish and reeling in the line rather than taking out everything. So let me get this in position and we'll start the spooling action, which is simple and quick. You know how to do that, but I want to show it to you my DIY anyway. So I'm going to start the spooling action here. I got the my fishing line hooked up here with the pencil. There's my cat trying to attack my fishing line. Make sure you don't let them do anything bad. And I'm just going to start reeling. As you see here, you can see spool turning. It's now going sideways. Steady action. You don't want to go too fast. I sometimes like to hold the line a little bit straighter toward the middle, but it's probably better to let it keep its natural action. As you see here, I have the fishing line at the same height and level as the fishing reel, and this keeps the line going onto the spool at the optimal level. If you go at an angle, you come down below, you come to the top, there's more propensity that it might not unspool correctly and you might get it in a way you don't want it. Doesn't seem like that will happen, but trust me, it does. Especially if you're doing it with a spinning reel. Now, I have come across in previous videos where, it states that a certain line spool can take up a certain amount of a fishing line, but I've come across it several times over where it cannot hold what it says it can. And this is because everything is rated on monofilament, the original version from a long time ago, which has changed itself as well. All the braided lines, it's off. And with this new line that has monofilament-like stuff over top of it, which is kind of like fluorocarbon really, over top of the braided line, I'm sure this is off too. This is my first one, so it is my first rodeo, and I'm going to see if it's close. This is 30-pound test too, so I'm using this for flipping. I'm going to be using this for using my big whopper plopper when pre-spawn happens, and I'm going to really get into some pike as well. So I got this big ugly stick on top of this Ambassador 6500 C3, and we're going to see what happens. Another tip: in the past, I used to hold this line, and I wanted it to go onto the fishing reel as tightly as possible. But what I didn't realize that when I do this, it actually cuts into the line, and this can cause tangles as well. Also, it's not the natural way that the fishing line wants to go onto it, and that will lead to bad things happening. You can stop in between and check by feel and on the actual spool to see just how well it's working. Now, if you press on it and you wiggle it to the left or right and you feel your line moving, that means it's not tight enough. That means the tension between the object you're using to hold the spool in space and the fishing reel is not tight enough, and it's too loose. So this is why, I don't want you to go too fast, because when you go fast and then go slow, you'll run into problems like this. This is also another reason to maybe hold that line to keep it tight, but not too tight. And that's really it's really a very fine line between too tight and not. But basically, if you do no tension with your fingers, you have it on a proper location, like a spool device that you have attached to your rod, or you're just DIY way, there should be enough tension to do this. You should not be able to touch your fishing spool and then move your finger left and right and see or feel fishing line moving from left to right. As you can see, this is the end of the line. I actually spooled up all 165 yards of this 30-pound breakpoint braided line. Now, it doesn't say on the Berkeley for some reason what the equivalent is in monofilament. That's the problem I saw on other fishing lines, was that the equivalent was not equal to what it stated on my fishing line. Now, I believe the fishing reel company a little bit more than the fishing line company when it comes to the diameter and stuff, and what they believe will have work on their fishing reels. Now, if you look here, you can't really see it, that about 200 yards, which I believe we can fit here because there's a little bit of line left. I think I can, this is 165 yards. I believe I can at least get 200 on here. That's equivalent to 20-pound test monofilament on this fishing rod. So I want to say it's somewhere between 15-pound test and 20-pound test equivalent for monofilament for this braided X9 line. So that's the end of the show and the end of the line. Like I stated earlier, if you have any questions, you can put it down in the comments below. Remember to subscribe. You can go to the Facebook channel and like it there, and I have all my posts propagated to there. Or you can go straight to fishnetwork.com and get your 10-step process to go fishing at work PDF for free. All you have to do is sign up with your email address, and I'll send it right off to you. And I'll be continuing to do that by giving you more great content and anything else you want to ask for. Please ask. If you want something, ask for it, and you shall receive. Have a happy New Year.